What we've learned is that the way we approach a job search today is what makes us successful. It's not about our skills, it's not about our experience, it's about opportunity and how we approach the job search. I started looking at the gestalt of what we all do in a job search, and what I realized is what's missing from all of us is understanding this thing called identity, and branding and marketing, and then eventually sales, and how this all comes together to make you successful. Part of what we've learned with job seekers today, especially those of us that are seasoned professionals and over 50, we're very resistant to this new paradigm. This isn't a question of whether you want to do this or not. You have to do it. Branding, marketing, and sales is no longer a novelty, it's a necessity. If you can't do this, you're not going to land a job. Everybody that is successful at landing a job knows how to talk about themselves, understand what identity is, understand how to brand themselves, understand how to sell themselves, and how to market themselves. You have to have an identity. And if you don't have an identity, you can't brand yourself. And if you can't brand yourself, you can't market yourself. If you can't market yourself, you can't sell yourself. Identity and brand are very similar, but they're still different. An identity is just who you are. So here's the new model. What makes you the unique accountant? What makes you the unique dry cleaner? I don't care what industry it is. What can you do for that your competition can't? How many of you are confusing the idea of a job title with a brand? Or a job title with something that somebody wants to buy? Why should I buy you? What can you do? If you're first thinking about this when you first go into an interview, you're done. You're lost. This is something that has to be established, experienced, practiced, understood, believed for weeks and weeks and weeks and months and months and months. Because the paradigm has shifted. Those of us that looked for a job 10, 12, 15, 20 years ago, it was real easy. It was pretty easy. We either got it through somebody we knew, or we answered an ad in the newspaper. And by the way, newspapers and online job boards, it's the same thing. You're throwing resumes to people you don't know, to places you don't understand, because you're not starting from the point of power of what the company is looking for. But it has to start by having an identity that you understand, and then a brand that you understand. If you don't have those two things, you have nothing to market. About 15 years ago, the resume police decided what words we were going to have on resume. Some of the nonsensical words that we've all put on our marketing materials in the last 15 years.
Hardworking.
Hardworking. What else? Team player. What else? Dynamic. Result-oriented. What else? Driven. Is that your ticket to entry today? Every word on your resume should have gone over painstakingly. Every word needs to withstand the so what test. If I look at your resume and I look at your elevator speech and I can go, so what? So what? Now let's take a look at what you do. So what really is marketing? Well, marketing is the umbrella that all this other stuff goes under. Advertising and promotions and social media and events and shopper marketing, and there's tons of stuff that goes under it. But for our purposes, let's just call marketing is how you're going to promote yourself. Now that you have an identity and you know what your brand is, what are you going to do about it? Because there's nothing worse than throwing a party and nobody showing up, which is kind of what a lot of job seekers do. You look good and you got a great elevator speech and you got great resumes but nobody's buying because you're not doing anything about it. You're passive about it. You cannot be passive in this job market. You just can't. If you can't tell me why I should hire you, I'm not going to. Because it's not about experience and it's not about your resume and it's not about skills anymore. It's how you sell yourself. So if you can take a look at who are you and who do you do it for and what's in it for them and why are you different and what's your value, you've got a pretty good start of what your brand is and what you have to offer. So here is an ad, and I prefer to call this a personal ad than an elevator speech because the word elevator speech is so overused. The idea, by the way, about any personal ad, you want one thing to happen: tell me more. That's all you want to get out of it. Really, tell me more. If somebody goes, oh, okay, and walks away, you haven't done your job. Your brand has to be that recognizable. So when you go talk to somebody, you know exactly what you have to offer. If you can't answer the question right now, tell me about yourself, you're not ready to look for a job. You've got to know it. You absolutely have to know it. And and all of this stuff has to work together. Your brand, your resume, the profile on your resume, the tell me about yourself, your networking speech, All of this stuff is part of the brand. It doesn't change. You may change and tweak it based on who you're talking to, but all this stuff has to work together. Think about the people in your industry who make more money and are more famous than you. Do you really think they know more than you? Do they happen to just be lucky? I think it's because they promote themselves better and they're not afraid to get out there and promote. This is a completely different paradigm today. If you can't market yourself and you can't get out there and you can't talk about yourself, you're just not going to be successful. You don't have to do it like me or Andy or Bert. You have to do it what's comfortable for you. But we all grew up thinking that and learning that it's not proper to brag. It's not proper to talk about yourself. It's not proper to talk about your successes. If you don't, who is? And so there's ways to do it. There's ways to say things like, let me share with you what I'm really proud about. One of the things that drives me crazy when I interview candidates is when they can't talk about their experiences and their accomplishments with pride. So it's that change. You got to talk about yourself. You got to be comfortable. I know a lot of people aren't. You have to practice. It's like piano. How many of you guys read Outliers by Malcolm Gladwell? There's one chapter in there. Pick up the book. It's about 10,000 hours. It takes 10,000 hours to be good at anything. Job search is the same thing. And landing a job is the same thing. This is practice. You need to know that sending resumes to online job boards don't work. Because it's just like you're sending a resume along with 10,000 other people to a mailbox to somebody you don't know. It's not a bad start if you want to take a look at how these jobs, where the jobs are, and then find a way to network into a company or do your research and use LinkedIn and use every single person you know on the planet to try to find a way into the company to get past the job board, the HR people. We know that 85%, this is real statistics, are gotten through networking. 85%. 76% of all jobs are never advertised. This is the hidden job market. So if your entire job search is spent looking online for jobs, you're missing probably 99% of what's really out there for you. So the people you experience are more important than the jobs you apply for. So let's take a look at what you need to do. One, you got to get out of your house. We say put down the mouse and get out of your house. Because if you don't, you're going to spend the work day from 9 to 5 at home in your pajamas looking for jobs. When the rest of the people are out there networking and going to associations and lunches, there's a million free things. You don't need money to do this. You just need a bus pass. There's a million, every place on the planet is an opportunity to network. I don't care where you are. Talk to everybody. And I know this is hard for some people, and I do it in your own way. But if you walk into a networking event and you sit in the corner and you stand in the corner, it's not going to work. It's just not going to work. As Andy said, seek out some people, do your research. Who's going to show up at this? What companies, what organizations? Target some people. If you've got good eyesight, eagle eyes, walk around and start looking at name tags. See who you want to try to target. Get noticed. Whatever that means. Write blogs. Speak at your sons and daughters and grandsons, schools. Cultivate your social network. This is incredibly important today. And if you keep resisting it, you're just not going to land. We do recommend that you keep your Facebook page private and your LinkedIn page public. You want everybody on the planet to see LinkedIn because that's your professional face to the world. And you have to have great marketing materials. You have to have a resume that sells. And we talked about it before. Every single word on your resume has to mean something. And your resume, we call it CAR, challenge, action, results. Every bullet point on your resume should talk about what challenge you were faced with, what action you did, and what results you got.